So YouTube removed the last video that I made, so that really sucks. I was just sitting on my couch this morning and I got a notification that said that my video violated YouTube's terms and guidelines, something like that. And I guess just some of the things that I had said in my last video were not okay, and it is what it is. I tried appealing it, but going back and watching, knowing the terms and guidelines now, I kind of understand where they're coming from, and I'm going to do better to try and like watch what I say in my next video so that I don't make the same mistakes again, because it really sucks to put time into recording and editing a video. Not that it was like the most, it was a sit down video, so it's not the end of the world, but it still does suck. Hi, my name is Isha. Welcome to my channel. I am on a weight loss journey, and I feel like I've been on a weight loss journey for honestly my entire life. Tomorrow is my 32nd birthday. I can't believe I'm turning 32 tomorrow, like literally tomorrow. When I put my daughter to bed tonight, she's gonna be 5, 2 weeks after my birthday tomorrow. But when I put her to bed tonight, she's like, "You're gonna wake up gray tomorrow." And I was like, "Thanks, babe." No, I'm not. I do have some gray hairs. I don't know if they show up on camera right now. My hair is like not the best right now. I need to wash it. But she loves to point out my grays. I don't have that many. I really don't. But she likes to point them out. And every time like I bend over, if I'm like helping buckle her into the car, she's like, "Mom, you have so many gray hairs." I'm like, thanks a lot. I can't afford to dye my hair right now. I mean, I guess I could buy my own hair dye and dye it myself, but I don't know. It wasn't something I was insecure about. Like, I already have a lot of insecurities, and now my 5-year-old is piling extra insecurities on me about my age. So that's that. I wanted to sit down and kind of go through my weight loss journey throughout my life, because if you are new to my channel, or I don't even know how much I've talked about this in past videos, but I have lost weight before. I've struggled with my weight from a very young age. I think I started to really become aware of my weight when I was about 6 years old, and I had a dream. And I remember in the dream, I was at an amusement park and I was trying to get into a roller coaster. And the princess of the amusement park, because when you're 6 years old, of course you're going to dream about princesses apparently. But she came over to try and get me into the ride, because there was like this big issue that they couldn't get me in the ride at 6 years old apparently. And they had to like push down the, that little thing that they pull over when you go on a roller coaster. And she kept trying to like push in my stomach to, and then I just kept doing like these little rolly rolls. And then I remember the next day, like I woke up feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm fat. And then I was at school in the bathroom looking down, and like I started pushing on my stomach, and I was like, oh my gosh, the dream was true. So, and it's just like one of those things I think that like sticks in my head, because like I recognize that as the first time in my life that I really started to think about my body. And now like I grew up, I think most of us, a lot of us who probably struggle with our weight, probably had a parent or a relative that had similar kind of issues, or at least the topic of weight was discussed around you a lot as a child, because I know with me it was. My mom was very, very aware of her body. She was never really like big or anything like that when I was growing up, but you have to remember, like, so I was born in 1993, and the 2000s era, like early 2000s, probably even like late 90s and stuff, but you had to be really thin. Oh my gosh, just magazines back then, when it came to like celebrity bodies and stuff and what was considered fat, people would be, you wouldn't, the fat positive movement, it did not exist back then. And it's probably a good thing in some ways, but in a lot of ways it was really awful, because I remember when I was growing up, it was really hard. You'd buy a magazine, you didn't even have to buy it, but like unfortunately, like in my family, people bought a lot of magazines, especially my aunt, and then she would give them to me, and because I loved looking at celebrity culture and stuff like that growing up. And yeah, it was really hard to kind of like see so-and-so's gained this much weight, so-and-so's gotten fat, oh look, so-and-so's lost weight, how so-and-so lost 10 pounds in this amount of time. And it's just like bombarded with that kind of information as a young child going into your teen years. Wasn't good. Having a parent who was very highly aware of their own weight and always commenting on their own appearance or worrying about their own appearance, it does stuff to you as a small child. So I have struggled with my weight very, very early in life, and I was the kind of person, I think, I took solace, comfort in food, and I started binge eating at like a really, really early age. I didn't really realize that that was what that was at that point in my life, but it was something that I started struggling with at a very early age. I come from a pretty chaotic childhood. I want to say the A word, but like, I don't know if I'm gonna get striked on YouTube if I say the word. I don't know if you know what I mean when I say that. But yeah, so I had a really, really evil dad. Yeah, so we had to like escape my dad at a very young age. And because of what we went through in my early childhood, because of what my mom went through, there was just like a lot of chaos in my family. And I had a sibling that went through a really hard time throughout their entire life and became an unsafe person to live with. And it just like, it had a huge effect on me. And I think one of the things that I turned to as a child, because there was so much, like, there was not a lot of safety, and there was a lot of chaos and a lot of uncertainty and a lot of just fear and pain that went on in my childhood, I turned to food to kind of find comfort in it. And I don't think I did that on purpose. It was just something that like, it gives you an immediate sort of like happy feeling, especially like foods that are high in sugar or carbohydrates, like high fatty foods, stuff like that. And of course, my favorite food as a child was pasta. And I remember we used to have a babysitter when I was a kid, and she used to babysit us like for a very long time, going on 10 years, I think, from the time I was like 4 until 10. So maybe about 6 years. It felt like 10 years, but time feels like a lot longer when you're a kid. She used to babysit us for a very long time. She would make us pasta all the time, and she happened to make my favorite pasta. Just the way that she made it, I don't know, it was really, really good. Apparently she just didn't drain the fat out of the meat, and so the fat was like in with the sauce. I don't know, it was amazing. But of course, like my siblings, I have a younger sister who is 1.5 years younger than me, and I have a brother who is 1.5 years older than me. And both of them have always been pretty thin throughout their lives. Like neither of them have ever struggled with their weight, at least not on like a visible kind of scale, if that makes sense. Like you would have never looked at them at any point in their life and been like, you're kind of chunky. Like it was just never part of their existence. For me, it was like from a very early age, from around 7, I think I started kind of getting a little bit of a belly and everything. I don't really have any photos from that point of my life. I will show a photo of when I was 4 and 5, and I was a pretty normal looking kid. So it didn't really start kind of piling on until I was about 7. Unfortunately, I don't have those photos. They're at my mom's place, and yeah, I just don't have access to them right now. She used to feed us pasta a lot. I mean, obviously other meals too. But my brother and my sister would always get to the point at the end of the meal where they were full and couldn't finish the food on their plate, or didn't want to finish the food on their plate. I would already be done my food because I would eat very, very fast. And not only would I finish my younger sister's helping of pasta, but I would finish my older brother's helping of pasta a lot of the times too. I remember that babysitter eventually started calling me a big fat raccoon that would eat anything and everything. And she would say it on a regular basis, and she would be like, you're like a big fat raccoon. And it was just like, all right, that's wonderful. And it hurt back then too, because I already knew that being thin was something to strive for because of what my mom would say about her body, and wanting to know like if she looked fat in a certain pair of pants. And you know, you're aware of things, you notice things as a kid, and you hear the things that your parents say around you. So I knew that being fat wasn't something that people wanted to be. So of course I took offense, and it made me sad. But I didn't really understand the way it all added together, like, oh, if I eat this, I'm gonna get big and all that kind of stuff. And it's not something a little kid should have to think about. Hopefully a parent kind of intervenes. Unfortunately, that wasn't really the case for me. My battle with food addiction, I guess you could say, kind of followed me throughout my entire life. I was never like extremely big in my like late childhood years. I started kind of gaining weight around when I was like 11, and even then I wasn't huge, but I was a lot bigger than people in my friend group, or at least I felt a lot bigger than people in my friend group. I couldn't buy normal size clothes. I couldn't go to one of those like boutique-y, I think right now, it's not boutique-y, that's the wrong word, but right now it's like, I think Justice is the popular kind of like tween brands. I could never shop in any of the tween brands when I was a kid. And I really wanted to, because those clothes were marketed to people of my age, and my peers, my friends, people I went to school with were all wearing clothes like that. And of course I wanted to be able to fit in and wear that kind of stuff, but I could never ever wear that kind of stuff. And I always just felt so uncomfortable and so sad in my body. But yeah, so when I was about 11, I became very, very aware of my body, and I think that makes sense being like a tween. It was just like, I didn't know exactly how to change it. And I was constantly complaining about my weight, complaining about my appearance, and everyone around me would always tell me, no, you're fine, you're just a pretty girl, you're gonna grow out of it, you're gonna grow up and get thin, and you just baby fat and you'll be fine. But I didn't really grow out of it. And by the time I was 13, this is me at my grade 8 graduation. Sorry, I was getting ready for my grade 8 graduation, and I was just getting bigger. And I was not like huge at this point, but I was getting bigger, and I was one of the biggest in my class. Most of the girls were not the same size of me, and I just always felt really uncomfortable. I remember seeing the photos come out after this, like when I was getting my makeup and my hair done that night, and I felt sad when I saw those photos. And that was kind of like a rolling theme for me in my childhood, is that every time I would see a photo of myself, it was just kind of like feeling a little bit heartbroken that that's what I looked like. Fast forward until when I was about 15, which you can see here, we went on a family trip to British Columbia. This is us at the Capilano Bridge, which is like a really cool attraction if you ever go there. It was really cool, and I would love to go back at some point. But yeah, so I was at my largest at this point that I had ever been. I was 220 pounds and not really feeling good about my appearance. Again, I remember being in a miserable mood this day when we went this place, and honestly I was in a miserable mood a lot of the time just because I really hated what I looked like. And it ruined a lot of my childhood, my teenage years, and where I am right now. It's taking like a huge toll on my ability to enjoy life. Eventually, when I was 15 at this time, I went to the doctors, and I was really, really wanting to get a breast reduction. My boobs were huge at this point. I had to go to specialty bra stores. Not only could I not fit in like normal size clothes for my age throughout my life, but I could never find a bra that was cute that could fit me. I had to wear like nursing bras or like granny kind of style bras, and I always hated shopping for a bra. Eventually we had to go to a specialty bra store, and I was fitted for a J cup when I was 15 years old, and I was just really sad. But yeah, so that's the kind of bras that I had. And so I went to the doctors, was wanting to get this breast reduction. I had to get weighed. Obviously I didn't want to know my weight because I knew it was going to be high, but in my head at that time, my mom was 195 pounds, so I figured I must be at least 10 pounds smaller than my mom, right? So I kind of guessed that I'd be 185 pounds. Then the doctor told me, okay, before I send a recommendation off for you to get a breast reduction, I want you to get to your lowest possible weight, and I would like to see you lose 50 pounds. So that kind of like nailed it into me. I was like, well, of course then I must be around 185 pounds because she wants me to be around 135 pounds. That's what a lot of my friends are. And so that must mean I am around 185 pounds. It wasn't until I got a gym membership and we finally went, and I was also 15 at this time, because after getting that, like, you need to lose this amount of weight, we're like, all right, let's get ourselves a gym membership. And we went and we did like the little weight loss doctor kind of thing where they take you through the gym and they tell you your body fat percentage and all that kind of stuff, and try and work out with you what your goals should be and how you're going to get there. So for the first time, I stepped on a scale and I saw how much I weighed, and it was 220 pounds, and I was flabbergasted. Like, I was just completely gone for words. I didn't know what to say. So I remember feeling pretty motivated. I wasn't really upset because I knew that I was going on this journey. I was a little bit sad because it was obviously considerably more than I thought that I was, which meant that my doctor wanted me to weigh 170 pounds. And I started kind of going on my journey to try and lose weight. I lost the first 10 pounds pretty fast, and then after that it was kind of like a yo kind of deal in order to lose the rest. By the time I was 18, I was around 195 pounds, and it wasn't until I was 19 that I finally got down to actually lower than what my doctor had initially said that she wanted me to get to. So I'd gotten down to 146 pounds when I was 19 years old. I went back to the doctors and she finally sent off my recommendation. I got approved for the surgery. I got my surgery at 19 years old, just before turning 20. And yeah, I lost that weight, and in retrospect, it kind of sounds like I took a long time to lose it, but between the ages of like 18 and 19, I lost the majority of that weight. So I was about 195 pounds at 18, and then before I turned 20, I was 146 pounds. I dropped down to about 170 something pounds, and I was there for a little while, and I would kind of like lose a chunk of like 20 pounds and then kind of mellow out for a little bit, and then I'd lose like another 10 to 20 pounds and mellow out for a little bit until I got to 146 pounds. And I was able to maintain that weight for almost 4 years. So it was about when I was around 23, I started to slowly gain that weight back. Coincidentally, I entered into my very first romantic relationship in my early 20s. I didn't have a boyfriend or anything close to that beforehand. So when I was 20, I was 20 when I first started dating my first boyfriend. We were together for 3 years. That relationship was not good for me. It wasn't his fault. I didn't know what I was doing, but I had gotten myself to a point in my life where I was living a very healthy, active lifestyle, and I was doing things that made me feel good, both physically, mentally, emotionally. Like, I got myself to a really good point in my life after kind of feeling like very depressed and anxious socially and generally. And then when I got into that relationship, our relationship was very centered around food. We would go out for drive-through, we would go to the movies and get lots of popcorn and soda and all that kind of stuff. We were always going out to dinner, whether it was just me and him, or me, him, and his family, just like going out to dinner all the time. And obviously when you go to a restaurant, very high calorie foods, right? So I was just eating all the time, drinking lots of like high calorie coffee beverages, and just, yeah. It didn't take long for me to kind of like go down that spiral and get right back into really, really bad habits. I was no longer active. I wasn't going to the gym anymore. I wasn't going for walks. I was barely riding my bike because I was always in my boyfriend's car to get to work. We worked together at that time too. And it was not a good relationship. We weren't good for each other. I think honestly, I was probably the worst of that relationship because of just how moody and depressed I started getting. And I didn't want to be around people, and I got angry all the time, and I think I just kind of made things very difficult. It was like 6 months into our relationship that I realized I didn't want to be in the relationship anymore, and I let it drag out for 3 years because I didn't want to be the person to end the relationship. When we first got together, he had told me that every other girlfriend he had ever had in his life was the one to break up with him. And he knew eventually, at least he said, that I would be breaking up with him. And I reassured him at the beginning of a relationship, like, no, I'm not going to be the one to break up with you. Like, that's definitely not going to happen. And then when I started having those feelings, I started thinking about that conversation, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am going to be the one to break up with him. So I think, like, without really fully meaning to, I started to try and do things and pull back in a sense where it was like, please, can you be the one to break up with me so I'm not breaking your heart? But then he never would, so eventually I did kind of have to break up the relationship, and it kind of ended in a mutual state, but anyways, that's not that important. But I left that relationship at 205 pounds. I moved out west for a year. That was a really bad experience. Came back, and yeah, I was, again, a little over 200 pounds, met my boyfriend, I got pregnant, and obviously I gained a lot of weight throughout pregnancy. I think I was almost 300 pounds when I gave birth to my daughter. Not quite, but I stopped weighing myself when I saw 274 pounds on the scale, because I was like, no, I can't keep doing this. It's like killing my brain right now. I can't keep doing this. And when I left the hospital, I was 254 pounds. I'll put like a photo here. This is where I was when I was pregnant. This is what I looked like. And then the biggest that I got was 265 pounds after my pregnancy, and that's right here. And then this photo here is the closest to where I am now. It's 10 pounds heavier than what I am now, but I mean, close enough. I am not taking another progress photo until I feel like there is like enough of a difference between this photo and like another photo, if that makes sense. But yeah, it has been a journey of, weight issues throughout my life, and I am, like I said, 32 years old tomorrow. I do not want to carry this issue and this weight into my mid-30s. It becomes more and more dangerous as you get older to have excess weight, especially in your middle, and I do carry a lot of weight in my middle. But yeah, it becomes a lot more dangerous, and it's so bad for your health as you get older. I can feel it in my joints. My knees and my ankles are the absolute worst. I have been having on and off back problems throughout my entire life, and obviously having excess weight on top of the already like the back problems that I already have is not good for me. Plus the fact that I am a mom to a daughter, and I don't want this to be the example that she sees as a woman. I want her to have a mother who takes care of herself, who eats balanced and eats well. She can see that is active. Fortunately, my daughter is active. She does gymnastics once a week. She loves to run. She's a very active kid. But yeah, I want her to see that as an example in me, and I think that's really important. And yeah, so I am going to be doing my best going forward to keep the momentum up that I have been this last week. And I know I say a week, I have been on this weight loss journey on YouTube for a year and a half. I've only lost about 20 pounds since I started my weight loss journey here on YouTube. Sorry, I'm going completely without a script today. I'm sorry to ramble, but I just feel like it's taking me way too long to lose the weight that I have lost. And I am taking things a lot more seriously now. I'm being a lot more careful with what I'm eating. I'm not letting myself eat too much junk food, any junk food at all, really. I am planning on having some kind of cheat days here and there just to be able to have that food sometimes, so I'm not completely restricted from anything, but it's not something that I'm keeping in my house on a daily basis. We are cutting out like box preserved snacks and all that kind of stuff so that it is just not something that can be accessed when I am feeling weak. And I am eating lots and lots of vegetables, lots and lots of green food to keep myself not hungry. So if I start to feel hungry, I eat a bowl of peas because I love sweet green peas. They're so good. Just add a little bit of salt. Absolutely delicious. I mean, to each their own. Not everyone loves peas. My daughter, my boyfriend, they both hate peas, but more for me. But yeah, so I am just keeping on this momentum because I feel very, very good, and I have not had as much food noise in the last few days. Like, maybe that's a lie, I've definitely had the food noise, but I've been able to cure it with vegetables, and that is a win for me because it's not me eating an entire family-sized bag of chips in one night, because yes, I can do that plus some. I can eat a lot. That's why intuitive eating is just not for someone like me, because intuitively I will eat the entire fridge. It is bad. Anyways, I'm very sorry for rambling. I hope that you got something from this video. If you are on a similar journey to me, then best of luck to you. Let's do this together because it is going to be a journey for me too, and I am trying my hardest to stay on it this time because I want it so badly. My current weight as of this morning was 225 pounds on the dot. So yeah, I am officially 10 pounds from that one photo I showed you. My first goal weight is to just get under 200 pounds. I want to hit that Wonderland area, just get out of the 200s. And then yeah, my ultimate goal is to hit around 150 pounds again, but we'll see. I'll settle for around 175. I was 175 pounds right here, and I don't think I look too bad. Even though I didn't really exactly like the way I looked then, I like the way it looks now. Anyways, thank you so much if you made it throughout my video. I really appreciate it. Please give the video a like if you want, and comment below if you've got anything to say. I'd love to chat with you, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Bye.